Hi everybody, welcome back to DayZ. Now in this video I'm going to show you how to install the excellent VPP admin tools by DaOne, and I think he had some help from Gravity Wolf. This is a very powerful admin tool that you can use on a local server for checking things like loot and how your mods have worked, and on a remote community server for managing players and doing those things as well. I'm going to be showing you how to install it on a local server, and I'm going to be showing you how to install it on a community server. So if you want to jump ahead to those bits, just go down to the description below this video and you'll see the timestamps. You'll also see the links to VPP admin tools on Steam, and I will also put links to my how to install a local server, because I'm a big believer in using local servers running on your PC, if your PC can handle it, so that you can test mod installs and XML installs and edits before you go live. So one of the cool things that VPP admin tools can do is once you've hit the end key to bring it up when you've installed it correctly, as you can see, it shows you where loot is spawning live. And it also has lots of other cool tools. This is ESP we're looking at now. We can even do things like we can go into this bit here and we could look for, like, I don't know, let's have a look for, say, road flares. Let's do a search, road flare, and we could click on that and we could say get item stats, and it would show us all the places where road flares had spawned around the map. And then we've got all the usual player management stuff, you know, god mode, teleporting, loads of stuff. I'll do separate videos on the powerful tools, the powerful things you can do with VPP plus admin tools. The basic controls to turn on and off, though, are end to turn VPP on and off, and then home brings up the actual controls. So what we'll do now is, let me just close that. Let me just go into the ESP tools. Let's toggle that off. And for now, let's come out and let's exit out of here. And let us go, and we'll exit out of here. And let's get started on installing VPP admin tools on a local dedicated server. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to Steam, and you'll want to subscribe to VPP admin tools so it starts downloading. And you will also already want to have installed and have working CF. Now you probably have, because many mods use CF. And what you want to do is, once that's ready to go, let me just turn off my local server. You want to fire up the launcher, and when you fire up the launcher, that will then download VPP admin tools. You can see it's here, and I've already downloaded CF. So what we need to do now is we need to put this into the correct place on our local server. If you're never quite sure where the files are, just click on this little arrow here, click on these three dots, and go to Open Folder in Windows Explorer. And that will then open up here, and this is basically where kind of DayZ sort of lives. If we go up one and then go up another one, you see we've got DayZ here, and then if we click into this, then click into Workshop, these are all the mods. So this is where the launcher sort of downloads them to. So it's a very important place, this. So don't mess around with anything that's in here. But what you would do is you would right click that, you would copy VPP admin tools, you go up, and then we need to find out where your DayZ local server is. Now generally it's in the same directory, so it'll be something like C, program files, x86, Steam apps common. As you can see here, so here's my DayZ server. So I can double click into here, and we would paste that in, and that would then be down here. Next thing you need to do is you need to go into the mod, and we need to go into the keys section, and we would need to copy the vpp.by key out, come out of there, go into the keys section on our server, and then we would paste that in. I've already done it, obviously. And then what we need to do now is we need to make sure that when the server starts, it starts with VPP admin tools. So you'll want to find your batch file. Now what I do is I create different batch files for each scenario where I want to start my server with a different set of mods. So I've got this one down here, start with Zombie on churns with Vanilla++. If I just edit this in Notepad++, or you use whichever is your favorite notepad editor, and although your batch file might look a little bit different to this, it will have a start line somewhere. And in the start line, you will have the mods section here. So as you can see, I'm instructing my server to start with mod equals @cf. Now, you don't have to run Zombie admin tools at the same time. You know, VPP admin tools and Zombie, they do similar things. It's arguable that VPP admin tools is more powerful than Zombie, but Zombie is really simple. So I always like to have Zombie running. But as you can see within this, we've got inverted commas -mod equals @cf semicolon @zombie admin tools semicolon @vpp admin tools. Now, if you're not sure about your spelling, remember you can always go into your file and you can just look for the VPP admin tools, left click it once, left click it again, and then you can right click copy, and then you can make sure you get the spelling exactly right by simply just pasting that in over the top, and then you would save that. So your batch file's ready to go now. So our batch file's ready to go, our key is in place, and the mod is in place. Now, what you need to do now is you need to run your server. So you would start it. So you would fire up your server. So I would go down to start Zombie Churners V++. So that's now going to start up, because it's important to remember that many mods, including Vanilla++, they kind of have to have a startup routine that they go through in order to work. And as they're doing this initial startup, they're creating the files and folders they need to carry on working. Now, with Vanilla++, this first time, and this is where often people go wrong, first time it will set up files inside your server's profiles or settings or config folder. Now, this particular folder, which will be in kind of the main directory, this one here, can have lots of different names. My particular server is called config, but for yours it might be called settings, or it might be called profiles. The way to tell if it's really the right one is if you go inside it, you should see some of the mods that you already have, but they won't have the little @ in front. That is because all of these mods are using this place to store the data they want to use. And we can see VPP admin tools has created a directory here. So if we go into this, and you go down, what you'll see is you'll see one called permissions. So you want to go into permissions, and then what we need to do a couple of things. You'll want to give yourself super admin access. So if you go into super admins, and then if you were to open this up with Notepad++, what you would then see is a empty file. And what you need to do is in this file you need to put your Steam ID and any other Steam IDs where you want people to have admin access in here, each on their new line. Now, I'm not going to show you because it'll have my Steam ID in it, but you would edit it with Notepad+, and it would put in. What I will do is I'll put a link in the description below this video to a Steam page telling you how to get your Steam ID, and that's where you put that, and you would save that. But also, you need to set up a password. So the password is inside the credentials file. So you open this up, and again, I'm not going to do it because it's going to show you my passwords. But on the first time you open it, it'll say something like, replace this line with your password. And so it'll be like // and it'll say, replace this line with your password. And so you delete all that first line and write in your password. And then when you restart your server, it takes that password and it hashes it. So it changes it into like hexadecimal. Now, you must remember that password, because the first time you log in, or any of the other admins log in and try and start VP Plus admin tools, it will ask you for that password. Okay, so you need to make sure you tell the relevant people what that password is, and then don't share that with other people as well. Once you've gone through this cycle of restarting your server again, so that happens, you'll then see the instructions in the credential will change again, and it will say, if you need to change your password, do this. And that's what you can then do. So you can change it to something else, and obviously tell everybody again what the new password is. So once you've done that once, restart your server again. So I would go in and I would stop my server, for example, and then I would go into my server and I would start it again. And that basically is it. If we were to then jump into DayZ, go into my server, go into join, set up DLCs, VPP admin would be ready to go. if it hadn't just crashed. So let's give that another go. Here we go. Let's fire this up. Here we go. So we go servers, LAN, join this one, set up DLCs. Now this is just logging into my server. So if you haven't considered local servers, local dedicated servers, really do. If you're thinking, well, what are you talking about, Rob? So basically what this is a version of a DayZ server that is literally running on my local PC just for me. So you can even play single player DayZ on it. But it's much faster using a local server to install mods, for example, and just check they're working. And if you're doing like XML or JSON mods where you're changing the loop balance, you can check whether that's working as well. If you're messing around with the init.c files, to change loop spawn or stuff like that, you can check that very, very quickly with a local server. Because all you've got to do is stop the server, you can wipe the server within seconds, restart it, and you can see what's going on. Unlike on a remote community server that's off in Nitrado or somewhere like that in the distance. So here we go. So we've logged in. And we're here. So what we would do now is we would press the end key, and that will say, right, admin tools are on, and then we press home, and then we get the settings up. Now, the first time you do this, it will ask you for a password, so make sure you put that in correctly. Now, if you ever get a little bit stuck about what the controls are, or if you're wondering whether VPP Plus is installed or not, if you just go to options and then go into controls and go into key bindings, if you can see VPP here, so Vanilla++ admin, it means that the mod is on your server. It's just that perhaps maybe you've put your Steam ID in wrong, or maybe you've put the password in wrong or something like that. Because if this is here, it means VPP Plus is ready to go. It's just that you've done something wrong in the installation. So go back, check yourself, and then go through those steps again. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to exit out of here, and now I'm going to show you how we're going to install this on a remote server, so a community server. So in this case, it's going to be a Nitrado server out in the clouds here. So first things first, we want to go to our server, and we want to go to the settings page, and you'll want to scroll down, and on Nitrado we don't have access to the batch file that starts it. We have this sort of setting here that says additional mods, but if you look at the syntax, the way that it's written, it's the same as the batch file for our local server. And as you can see, all I've done is I've added @VPP admin tools to the line. So when the server starts, it's going to start with community framework, Zombie admin tools, and VPP admin tools. You should really stop your server at this point, and you don't want to really be working on it while we're doing all that sort of stuff. The next thing we need to do is get the files up onto the server. And for this, you're going to be using an FPP program. In this case, I'm using FileZilla. Seems to work for me. You'll be familiar with this. If you're not sure, if you just look up FPP tutorials for DayZ, there's plenty of videos out there. And so what we need to do is we need to get the mod files from our local workshop folder up onto the remote server. So on the right, this is up in the cloud. This is my Nitrado server. On the left, this is my local hard drive. Again, if you're not quite sure where it is, if you go to your local server, for example, here, and then we go up and then go into DayZ and go into workshop. If you left click up here, that then gives you the address of where the workshop is. So you can just copy that, go to your FTP program, paste it into there, and that will take us exactly there. I mean, we're there already. So the next thing we want to do is we just want to make sure we're clicked on that DayZ standalone, scroll down to find the mod, Vanilla++, admin tools, right click, upload, and that will then upload the files up to here. Remember, you must have installed Community Framework CF already, so that uploads up there. The next thing we need to do is on the local drive, we just want to go into the keys folder, which has appeared down here, scroll down, go into the keys folder here, and so these are all the keys that are on my remote server. So we just want to right click, upload, and that will upload the key up into here. So we've got the key on, we've got the mod files in place, and we've got the batch file is telling, the settings are telling the server to start with VPP admin. But if you remember back to if you watch the local server part of this video, you know we've got to do something else. So what you want to do now is you want to restart your server. And what will happen now is the mod will go through like a cycle. It's going to create the folders that it needs in order to work properly. It's kind of where it's going to store stuff, and where it's going to store stuff is in the profiles folder, or the settings folder, or the config folder. This folder can have any name you want to give it in DayZ. My one on my server happens to be called config. So if we click on that and open it up, what you'll see inside is you'll see lots of names from the mods you've installed in your server, but they won't have that little @ inside them, and this means you're in the right place. So if we scroll down, we can see what will happen is VPP admin tools will create a folder like this, but there's some things we've got to do to make this work. What we need to do is we need to go into the permissions folder here, and what you'll see is a file called credentials.txt. Now this contains the passwords. What you want to do is you want to open this up. So in my case, I would right click this and go view edit. And when you read that, it will say something like, please set up a password. And so what you do is you go up to the top of the screen and you delete whatever is at the top and you write your password in, and then save it. And then what you want to do is you want to go into the super admin section, and where it says superadmins.txt, you want to open that up as well. And you want to put your Steam ID on the first line at the top, and any additional people you want to be admins on a new line underneath. Now I'll put a link in the description below this video about how to get your Steam ID, and then you want to save that and upload it. Now the next thing you want to do is you then want to go back and you want to restart your server. And then what VPP Plus will then do, or VPP it is in Vanilla Plus will then do, is it will then go to your let's go here we go. It will then go to the credentials.txt, and it will have hashed your password. So your password will change from whatever you wrote in to like a hexadecimal type thing. So it's kind of hidden. But make sure that you've remembered your password, its normal password in the normal letters and numbers, and you pass that on to the people who are going to be going on to your server. And so once you've restarted your server again, you can then go in and join your server, and what will happen is, I'll show you on my local server when we jump in. The first time you try and fire up VPP, it will ask you for your password, and that's when you enter it. So what you're going to do is you're going to press the end key, and then it will say, right, what's the password? And you put the password in, and then it will recognize you. So it's a combination of Steam ID and the password then gives you access to the controls. Now what you can do is you can disable the password method if you want. And if you have a look on the Steam Workshop page for VPP admin tools and scroll down, you'll see he has a section here. If you don't want to wish to run the extra security layer of a password input, please follow these instructions. And what you do is in your where do you put it? If you don't wish to run an extra VPP disable password as well, add to your server config file. So into your server dz.config file, you would add that in, and that would mean you wouldn't have to have that. Although recommend have the password, have the Steam ID, have both of those things. So we're in now, so you would press end to bring up VPP admin tools. That would then ask for your password, and when you get that correct, you can then press home, and you can bring up all the wonderful controls that VPP has, and it is very, very powerful indeed. Okay, so I will be doing other videos on the tutorials on some of the more advanced features of VPP admin tools. Lots of it you can work out yourself, teleporting around and giving people health and stuff like that. But it really is very, very powerful in terms of loot management and building things and the object builder and spawning items. Very, very powerful indeed. But hopefully this has been useful, and now you know how to install VPP admin tools. Massive thanks has to go out to DaOne for creating it with Gravity Wolf. VPP Admin Tools is one of those mods, that is pretty essential if you're running your own local server or you're running a remote server, because it gives you all the information you need at your fingertips. Anyway, that's enough from me. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you have, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe, and I will of course see you again soon.